Hello, this is Angela with Parker's Permaculture. I'm going to have a little quick car rant video here. Not one of my normal videos from my permaculture garden, but just something that I wanted to talk about that absolutely is related to growing food and also related to the permaculture ethic of people care. So I'm at Park Day with my boys and I was sitting in the car because I'm waiting for my father's doctor to give me a ring back. So I wasn't hanging out with the other parents. And while I'm sitting here waiting, I'm thumbing through some of the posts in a Facebook group that I really love. It's a backyard fruit growers group. And one of the things that I really appreciate about this group is that it is an international group. It's a global group. Folks are growing food in all kinds of climates, conditions, and all around the world. And I love seeing the harvests that folks post because people are growing such unique fruits that I can't grow here in the Pacific Northwest. And I love having not only that vicarious experience, but also just being able to enjoy the diversity of foods that humans can grow on their own, harvest, and enjoy. So I love seeing all of, especially of the subtropical and tropical things that I can't grow here. I'm very jealous of all of the folks growing mangoes and avocados and ice cream bean and all kinds of things that I can't grow here in the Pacific Northwest. But I also love seeing folks in really different climates growing the same kinds of fruit that I grow under different conditions and needing to give them a little bit different range of support than I give my fruit. So I feel like it's really educational. It's really kind of an inspiring group, usually really positive and great. So someone posted today a picture of their fruit in the genus Carica and said, hey, this is something that I harvest a lot. And I noticed the inside of this one is a little unusual. Can you help me understand what's going on? And, a couple of people weighed in with an answer about what was going on with the fruit. But I was absolutely floored that most of the comments were just a string of, not even pedantry, but just a string of folks saying, you're wrong, you're incorrect, or laughing at this person saying, that's not the right common name. So the person in the original post had called this fruit a pawpaw. And all of the Americans, I'm an American, all of the Americans weighed in with, that's not what a pawpaw is. Did you know that you're calling your fruit by the wrong name? Did you know that you're completely misidentifying your fruit? That is not a pawpaw, that's a papaya. Well, for those of us in North America, we call that fruit in the genus Carica. There are 22 species in that genus that we call papaya. In much of the rest of the world, including Africa and Australia and much of Asia, that fruit is called a pawpaw. And I was just really baffled at the need for folks to tell somebody that the common name that they use in their community, the common name by which all of their neighbors, all of their community of fruit growers know and use every day is somehow wrong because all the way across the globe, we use a different common name. So I've run into this in other groups. And I want to say, while there is kind of a European-centric, colonialist superimposition when it comes to using Latin scientific names, it really does help to use a dead language, use a scientific name that is universal, because we around the globe, gosh, this is a shocker, y'all, we all speak different languages. And even if we're speaking the same language, we have different common names, different colloquialisms, different local terms by which we refer to the food that we grow and eat. That shouldn't be a shocker to anybody. I grow the honeyberry in my garden. I have a video about it, actually probably several videos about it by now. I'm a big fan. Lonicera cerulea, that is the scientific name. I call it the honeyberry. Folks in Japan call it the haskap. Other folks call it the blue honeysuckle. Some folks call it the fly honeysuckle. Some folks call it the sweetberry. It's got a whole lot of different common names. None of us are wrong. If we want to use a common overarching term that is understood by everybody, we use the Latin name Lonicera cerulea. If we want to refer to it locally in our community by a term that everybody knows and uses, we use the common name. It doesn't mean that somebody 500 miles away or even somebody 50 miles away, much less someone 3,000 miles away, is going to use the same common name that I am. It's a really bizarre take to say, because I know the North American native fruit, Asamina triloba, which I grow in my garden. I have 3 of them and I love them. A native fruit, the largest native edible fruit in North America, because I grow Asamina triloba in my garden, and because in North America we call it the pawpaw, that anybody else who uses that name is somehow wrong if they were referring to a different kind of fruit. It's completely dismissive of other folks' language and culture. It's completely, imperialistic a little bit to say that the Americans have it right, that we can say, we know definitively what you should call this fruit that doesn't grow here in North America, that grows where you are, that you in your community for generations past have called the fruit growing right out your back door in your garden, the pawpaw. But we demand that you call it papaya, or we're going to laugh at you and scoff at you and tell you that you are incorrect and wrong. Not only that you are ignorant. This is really concerning to me because in permaculture, we want to embrace people care. We want to connect communities of people all around the world. We want to respect folks' local food culture, their local language culture, their local culture, because in doing so, we help them. Because in doing so, we are respecting their basic humanity, but also because permaculture is local, it's site specific. And if we want to encourage people to be, have community interconnectedness, to be more resilient, and to support the local ecosystem where they're at, and do so while also feeding their community, we need to respect local cultures. And so it really, I know that maybe I'm going off on this a little bit too long and a little too harshly, but for me, the fact that folks here in North America need to scoff at somebody and tell them that they're wrong for using a name that is commonly used in their community for a fruit that they grow in their own backyard, it speaks to a greater problem of kind of a lack of awareness of how we need to be respectful of individual cultures and how we can have variations across cultures, just as we have variations across climate and growing conditions. When I here in Zone 8B in the Pacific Northwest acknowledge that I live in a rainy climate that is mild, it's temperate, that doesn't mean I would expect somebody living, in the Sonoran Desert to experience the same growing conditions and same climate that I have here. Why should I expect them to have the same culture, much less somebody in sub-Saharan Africa? I would not expect them to have the same climate and growing conditions. I know they don't have the same language that I have. Why would I expect them to have the same common names? And why would I expect homogeneity when nothing in our planet is homogenous? Nothing in our climates are homogenous, and our cultures are uniquely diverse, and we should value and appreciate that. So yes, you can call a papaya a pawpaw, if that's what you call it. Yes, let's use scientific names to, eliminate any confusion that there may be, but also let's respect the fact that, folks come from different groups linguistically and culturally, and they may use a different term than you use. It doesn't mean that they are ignorant. It doesn't mean that they are somehow lacking and you somehow have superior knowledge. It doesn't mean that they're wrong. It just means we are diverse people with a diverse planet and diverse language usage. We all know that this image that this person shared is the plant of the genus Carica. I don't particularly know which species because I can't grow papayas where I am. But I also know that someone who grows that in their own backyard and whose community has utilized that plant for a long time, they can call it a papaya and they're absolutely right. And I have no business telling them that they're wrong. Let's try and respect each other's culture and humanity in permaculture. We can support each other in growing more of our own fruit crops, our own food crops, but also we need to do it in a way that is respectful of where people live, the context of their lives, and in a way that respects who they are as a person and the culture that they come from. I think that's so important. And I think that this is such a source of frustration for me because if we want to have resilient communities that can grow their own food, that can do so in a way that doesn't exploit the planet, we have to include people care. And this is one small way that maybe we can see where people care is lacking and use it as a gateway to think about how we engage in more respectfully in a way that is honoring to other people in their culture and in a way that is pushing toward actual resilience and not some kind of bizarre petty infighting or some kind of weird need to superimpose our culture on somebody else. That's totally not appropriate and not how we have people care. So thanks for listening to my rant. I'll be back with a regular video from my garden tomorrow. Thank you for indulging me as I think about these examples of interactions that humans have and how we can learn from them, how we can learn to do better, how we can behave better, treat each other with more respect, and by doing so, further embrace the permaculture ethic of people care. Thanks.